You're listening to another Ambitious Entrepreneur Network.com podcast, the voice for entrepreneurs and small business. Now, onto the show.
Welcome to Industry Thought Leader Podcast. Stand out, be heard, influence. Want to influence real change with your message while become known as an authority in your field? Industry Thought Leader Podcast will show you how. Now, over to your host, Anne-Marie Cross.
And welcome to another episode of Industry Thought Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Cross, also known as the Podcasting Queen. Now, my guest today says, show up and be yourself. You are more than good enough. You are brilliant. And I absolutely agree. And someone else who is brilliant is our guest today. And joining me is Kathleen Ann. Kathleen is an international award-winning marketing coach. She's a certified in money breakthrough business coaching, as well as a sacred money archetypes. She's a speaker, she's a published author and workshop leader, and she supports heart-centered entrepreneurs to marry money with meaning so that they can create a 6 or a 7-figure business and still have time for life. Now, on today's show, Kathleen's going to share how to identify your limiting beliefs and how you can easily change them. She's going to talk about the number one mindset shift that you need to make. So guess what? That you can attract more money, as well as a simple daily practice that will break through your current money blocks and lots more. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I'm really pleased to be here today. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you are so welcome. It's been a while. You and I have interviewed before on one of my other shows, Ambitious Entrepreneur Show. That's going back quite a while, and we certainly didn't have the live stream capabilities that we do today.
We didn't, and I think it was 10 years. Can you believe that?
Wow, 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
And you aren't called the podcasting queen for nothing. You were a real trailblazer, even way before podcasting was as popular as it is now. So you really set the standard, and I've always admired. I've seen lots of other podcasters; they don't have your absolute.
Oh, well, thank you. And of course, I'm going to turn the spotlight on you because you have been, as long as I have known you, you've been working in the area that you're going to talk about today, especially around money mindset and the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. I mean, 10 years ago, we were talking about the global financial crisis. That was why I started my very first podcast. And then now, of course, what was going on with the global pandemic, that has now caused many businesses to shut down, and many people unemployed as well. And one of the things that happens is our mindset, we get quite anxious around that as well. So I'm glad you're going to be talking about how we can eliminate or transform some of those limiting beliefs. When you talk about, tell us a little bit about sacred money archetypes. I mentioned that in the introduction, but it's such a powerful tool and process for people who may not know about that. What are they? And then we can dive in to unwrapping some of the things you want to talk about today.
Yeah, so just basically what archetypes are. Some people are familiar, and there are lots of archetype systems in the world. There's a lot. Now, these have been specifically designed around money. So the archetypes that we can see ourselves, they're a set of characteristics, and basically it gives you an indicator. And the archetypes I work with are done by assessment, so it's a very simple process. Just answer the questions truthfully as you have the answers, not as you would like them to be, and just answer them the way that they're structured, and that will indicate what archetype you are. So that's a really simple thing for starters. But once you see that and you see yourself, like I say, through the lens of money, it indicates for you where strengths and weaknesses are around having that type of money mindset. And what it really does for you then is let you play to your strengths and see that there's not one better than the other. There's only 8, and I always work on the top 2. So we're not one-dimensional humans. And looking at those top 2, it means that you can assess where your tendencies are, I suppose. And that's the thing that gives you the ability to see why you do the things you do. And
Yes.
also, obviously, conditioned with some of the other things we'll talk about today about mindset and how we got what we have now and the rest of that.
Yeah,
but
I'm glad you shared that. Yeah, I'm glad you shared that, because I think it really allows people to see things. As you said, you use the term seeing something through the lens of an archetype, because often when we look at money, there's certain, practical steps and things that we can do. However, depending on who you are, like the money type, your approach is going to be very different. Like for me, I know what my archetypes are. So for me, the word budget makes me want to go out and it used to make, I hate the word budget, because, I'm a celebrity archetype. So probably why I love podcasting. But it's interesting, because then once we know that, we can also, and you're going to talk about limiting beliefs, we can understand more about why that's happening and perhaps look at shifting that. So how do we identify some of these limiting beliefs, Kathleen?
Oh, okay. So the thing about that is we all have beliefs. We have positive beliefs as well, believe it or not. So we've got the positive and the negative side of our beliefs, and where we understand we got those from is right from when we were just little kids, even pre-birth, what was being said around us. We were listening, and then through maybe up to the age of 7, we're just a sponge. So we're absorbing everything that comes to us, and of course from the people who loved us and did their best. They mostly were just imparting their beliefs to us. And of course, they've come from their parents and so on and so forth, and the life that they've lived up to that point. So we all understand that we are layered, and it's our subconscious mind that we call the conditioned mind. And the conditioning is to accept everything that came through, because it's our conscious mind that can decide, to accept or not, but our subconscious just sucks it all up. So what happens is, being in the subconscious, we don't realize that that's who's running the show. Like for us, it's that little 5-year-old girl who's running our business. So we need to understand how that influence is coming through. And what happens there is, when you see, it's like a pattern. You see, and I say to some people, some people just have more money, more month than money, month in, month out. They can't quite bridge that gap, and they think, how is this continuing to happen? So I think the first thing is, we have to recognize the patterns. We have to recognize if you're the type of person who, when things aren't going all that well, do you go out and shop? Is it somewhere you go and get a new pair of shoes? Or what is it that you are triggered about? So that's the time to actually think. When I think of it like your emotional guidance counter will actually indicate to you when you're not feeling quite right about something. And in our busy lives, we just push on through that and ignore it. And what happens is, that was our chance to stop and think, why do I feel like this? What's not right here? And what's, like triggering me to feel like this? Because it's what you're thinking. Because it's your thoughts that create the feelings, the feelings then that create the actions, and the actions get the outcome.
Yeah,
So
and that can happen very quickly, to the point that we really have to consciously slow down and be very curious, what was happening. Because as you say, that trigger can happen so instantaneously, and then unfortunately we're reinforcing, or we're doing a habit which reinforces a negative belief. Something that I learned, and I'm sure you've learned it too from some of your mentors, and maybe even say yourself now to your clients, is we will often go out and seek the evidence that we need to prove our belief is true, even if that is not a helpful belief, isn't it?
Especially if it's not helpful. It's one of those ways we keep ourselves feeling safe and secure. And it is, even if things aren't going like you would like, it often is that sort of behavior that you can repeat, because it's uncomfortable to move away from what's normal. So there's those two parts of it, isn't it? One is becoming aware. So when you are aware, that is your chance to think, like that belief. Some of my clients, I remember one saying to me in particular, she said, and we were working on her money, and she'd been going really well, and we were working through, maybe the second month, and she came to the call with me, and she said, I'm so upset with myself because on the weekend I found myself saying out loud, I hate that it's always about the money. And I said to her, wow, congratulations. You actually heard yourself say that. Now, you've been thinking that for a long time. The fact that you voiced it and then you caught yourself saying that and then realized that that's not true. And that's what I was celebrating. She was feeling like she'd not got that far along. I know. So it's interesting, just that little awareness. And then she said, I knew it wasn't true the minute I said it, but she said, it annoyed me that I said it. And I said, no. That actually is exactly how it is.
Yeah.
I'm aware, when you, and Maria, know too, you listen to what people say about money. Yeah. And I think, wow, if they're saying that, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
That they're not even aware about.
And some of the beliefs we may not even realize, and I think this goes very much around time too. It's the language that we use, and we don't even realize it, that comes from lack, from scarcity. There's never enough time. And by the way, cancel and erase this unconscious mind. Never enough time, never enough money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Our parents, what do you think? Money grows on trees? And well, actually, money is, well, not anymore. It's not. It's digital. But in the olden days, we used to have paper money. But so all of those things that we heard, we may be repeating now, and some of those things may be, and a lot of them actually, are negative and come from a place of scarcity. Yes,
and fear, and it's interesting that we have all of those. We can bring those statements out like that because we've heard them all. And the one is, when I'm working with business owners who are my clients, I go, well, they'll say, oh, you have to work hard for your money. And I've gone, oh, wow, what a limiting belief that is. I said, your money can work hard for you. It can. Believe it, it can work hard for you. And if you're working too hard for your money, then there's something there. I see it all the time. People don't feel they've earned their money if they didn't work hard. And that makes them constantly working hard. It's the biggest limiter of income, because they're not working hard and being paid well. They're actually just working hard. So whatever they're getting, they are earning it. And that's there's an abundance in this current situation we're in now. A lot of people, they have lost their jobs, or they've in their business has been affected, but there are a lot of people who haven't been affected that way. And there are so many opportunities. I've been working with clients too, and that pivot word is getting used a lot, as we know. And I've been saying some people are spinning around like that little ballerina in the music box, and they're not actually pivoting. Pivoting means just going in a new direction and using all your skills and all your talents and every opportunity that's out there and creating a new and better way. And there are so many new and better ways. There are lots of things. If people think that we're going to go back to normal, I don't believe that. I think we're going to go through this, and this is maybe not, this could happen every year. Who knows? But this is going to be not life as we knew it, or business as we knew it.
And it depends really where we're looking at it, because one of the things that we're doing now, Kathleen, is you and I are sitting in different states. We are in Australia, but if you're on the other side of the world, we can talk, we can create, we can coach. And so the technology that we have at our fingertips is so fantastic. We have got a lot more resources to be able to leverage as part of our business, and a lot more people are now online too. So, we've got an audience that's sitting there.
And Marie, now people are all becoming more aware. Those of us who've been using this online opportunity for a long time We can see that people now, and it's a real easy, because now a lot of these platforms are very intuitive and simple, not like the older days.
You had to have a university degree just to be able to run something, and a whole studio full of staff and to manage all of the technology. So we've identified now how to start to just be aware and mindful and catch yourself maybe saying some of these things that are just not helpful for you. They're really limiting your ability. And talk a little bit around some of the things that we need to be considering to help change that, because like any behavior or any habit, let's say, sometimes it can take a bit of a process, but it's so worth it. What are some things that we can start doing to start to easily change some of those unhelpful beliefs?
Well, I think that the part of that is to understand, and we were talking about archetypes, and I did say, not one's better than the other. When you can look at yourself through that lens, understand too, is how you do money is how you do everything. So you were talking about people having I can't think how you worded it now, but they were doing this and doing that and doing that. They're doing it all the same way. So whereas they may be, say about it's almost a natural tendency that would go through that. So if somebody is avoiding, okay, so there's an example. If somebody is avoiding money, and believe it or not, a lot of people do, they avoid it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want anything to do with it.
Because then they won't feel bad. If I ignore it, I hopefully won't validate that it's an issue.
Or they just avoid the whole issue. Well, look around and see what else they're avoiding. So this is what's really helpful too, is you can see these, patterns of behaviour play out across everything. So the same thing too is if you see people who, some people actually push money away. It's not that they're avoiding it. If it comes to them, and some people it does, it comes readily. They don't have a problem attracting money. They don't have any because they find a way to lose it. You look at millionaires who've made millions and lost it. And they make it again. They don't retain it. And yet it's fascinating when you actually look at the behaviours. And this is where I think we have the opportunity for self-growth. When we really begin to appreciate what's happening there. And can I use this example too, particularly for women, because, we haven't had money in our lives for many generations. Go back past my mum's generation to my grandmother, who never had a job, working in the home, with 7 children, but never had any paid work. And then, of course, we had the opportunity as women to go out to work when the war came. We've got all this heritage, and we have to understand that this is what has come forward for us up to the point where we're at. And that's how we, as women, find it hard to hold out our hand and ask for the money. And then when we do, often undercharging to start with. Nearly everybody's undercharging anyway. And then overworking, over-delivering, so that we can actually feel once again like we've earned it. And discounting all of those behaviours, especially now. Some people think that if you're in a business that you should be giving away your services or discounting, and nothing could be further from the truth. If you can't evidence and value the difference you make for the people who invest through you in moving themselves forward in their business or their life, then that serves nobody. You can't get in somebody else's pity party, get in that boat with them. You need to be the person who's leading, and for that you need to create a great income so that you can do more and serve more. So that sort of mindset is what we need to look at as to how we can maybe be that role model. And that's the other thing, Anne-Marie, how many great role models are there for wealthy women?
Yes.
We look around, we see some women who are extremely wealthy women, and we see their behaviour. They I don't want to name names. We all know the people who you think, I don't want to be like that. So if that's what being rich is all about, I don't want to be rich. And that is,
Yeah, and I heard somewhere once too, and I can't remember, it was maybe one of our mentors, but basically said, money will not make you greedy. It will not make you arrogant. It only will amplify who you already were to begin with. So if you are a very caring person who's generous, who's able to be a great role model for how to build wealth, but you are also, contributing, which we can do. We can hire more people. Imagine being able to say, now I can hire more people around the world, be able to provide, funds for various organizations. You can't do that if you're struggling as well. So
actually, it is an enabler, and that's the way we need to look at it, is that good people. That's one of my mantras for people. I say, if you don't have the right mindset, take a couple of mine.
Borrow some of mine. Actually, don't need to bring it back. I've got plenty going on here.
On top of that is good people do good things with money.
Yeah, exactly.
And
let's talk about, you mentioned mindset. You mentioned mindset, Kathleen, about being very important. And I'd love you to share. You say the number one mindset shift you need to make so that we can start to attract, to generate more income, to generate more wealth. What is that number one mindset shift?
So for me, it is that way that people obviously look and see. They don't see through the eyes of value. So they look at what they think maybe people will pay them. They're not looking outward. So the mind shift is, if you are having those feelings, then you are thinking internally. And that internal thinking, there's always going to be some criticism and some other thing driving it, and some judgment. There's all sorts of stuff going on when we're inward looking. So the mindset, I say, is look out and look and see the difference that you're making in the world, whatever is in front of you, your contribution to that, and see your worth and your value. And that's what I said at the outset there. You're absolutely brilliant. Everybody is. Just play in your own sandpit, stay in your own lane, and get out there and make that difference. So I think the mindset shift is that, never mind this, I'm not good enough, and questioning all the rest. Just think about the value that you add to, your home, your community, your country, your world, the role that you're playing and the difference that you're making. And then you can charge what you're worth.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Kathleen? I'm sure you've had many conversations with women and men too, but I know that you deal a lot with women, as do I, is that we often devalue the knowledge, the experience, the training that we've done. And by kind of, when someone gives you a compliment, often you shrug it off. But you know what? By doing that, you're actually saying that you're not validating that what you have to offer is valuable. And you may be able to share something with someone that completely helps them to transform the way they're doing things through saving time. There may be something that was causing them all sorts of grief and overwhelm, but through you speaking or sharing a tool or whatever it is that you bring as far as your expertise is concerned, you could completely shift the way that they approach. Now, that's value, because it's value to them, isn't it? And not what we think, that's nothing. To someone who's very organized and on time all the time, for someone who struggles with that, and they long to be more like that. So if you can teach them some strategies to help them to be more like that, that to them is priceless often, isn't it? And we often struggle with that, don't we?
I think that's exactly right, because that's that judgment of ourselves all the time. There's always that at play if we choose to ponder on that. And we really never know, Anne-Marie, how sometimes we do see the evidence, and we're, if with clients or whomever else we're impacting, we can see that. But most of the time, we have no idea of the impact of what we've done for those people, because we've just been part of that. I've always felt for myself is that I want to be open to whatever it is that comes at the time. in my coaching that that's what my client needs. So I always feel like a conduit, and that whatever is needed to move forward, and that is my main aim, is if I can do that in every session to move that person forward, just keep in motion, and the better you get, the better you get. And I think that always for me is, what do they need to know? I just ask that of myself. What do they need to hear from me today that will move them forward?
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes just one question as a coach, or one reframe, or even just as coaches do, really can have someone shift and shatter, transform something that had been blocking them for years again. And so something else I think we do is when we stop ourselves from sharing and contributing because we don't think it's of value, we may just be stopping that one person or the lots of people who needed to hear our message, who needed to hear our encouragement, because we're not. And I know often when we pre-frame it that way, we would hate to think that by not sharing that we could potentially stop someone from reaching, or taking that to the next step.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, as in that coaching relationship, it's holding that safe place for the person to bring the issues up.
Yes.
And then really, and then just listening, and listening at that level that gets past the statement, what's actually really being said here, and then asking, questions are the answer. Just ask another question and just help that person really get into the issue at the level that will make the difference. Otherwise, it's just it's a surface conversation, and that's not going to be transformational. It's not going to make a difference. And when you see the light bulb go off, and you see people just really very keen to get on, because like I got into the money mindset because basically I am a marketing expert, and I work with people, positioning them in the marketplace as the expert. That experts get to charge higher fees, but what happens is that people often, to get into action and to show up, as I said, as yourself in particular. If you've come out of corporate like I did about 25 years ago, I got that Don't Come Monday invitation from my role as direct marketing. I'd been headhunted a couple of times, and then I was retrenched. So what happens there is you're not used to being yourself. You're usually, got the face of the company that you're working for. You've got expectations as to how you're going to do what you're doing. So when you start your own business, and I did it too, to have to find out how you want to be representing. And I'm a solopreneur. That's my, I really love that role, that I never wanted staff reporting. I love people, but I don't want to manage them. So to have that responsibility, if you like, and this is where, a lot of guys come to me to do their branding, because they've never had to dig in and find out who they are. And they listen. You and I know when you're marketing and you're talking to your specific audience, that it doesn't mean that's all you serve. It's the people who relate to the way that you're expressing and your modality and everything that go, could you do that for me? So it's not like, you'll only work with this group of people, but having that message land with the like-minded type of person who goes, she's talking to me.
Yes, there's something about that. I love that, and I want
about that.
Yeah.
So in the branding, who
absolutely. So Cloud9. I was just going to say here, Cloud9 is looking, watching through Periscope. She says, is this live? Yes, it is. So if you've got a question, and we are live at the moment. So if you've got a question that you would like to ask Kathleen, let me know and I'll share it with her. What's this one simple daily practice, Kathleen, that you say will break through current money blocks? Because any money blocks, as you've said, as we are getting out online and marketing ourselves, if we've got these unhelpful beliefs, we're only going to be able to grow our businesses and grow our reach so far, because they'll continue to block us.
Yeah, exactly. So what this is about is, and we talked a little earlier about, ignoring money. And I'm not talking about everybody ignores money, but not everybody pays attention to it. So paying attention to your money loves to be paid attention to. And if you're not paying attention, it's going to get your attention one way or the other, and perhaps in a way that you don't like. So paying attention to your money, and this is the daily practice, and I really highly recommend if you haven't done this, and I have a template that I use for this and give to my clients. It is every day going to the source of where your income comes in. And you might need to do this for your whole household income, or if you're a business owner, maybe just for your business. But in whichever way you're looking, every day, look in your money in and write down the amount every day. And every day you're paying attention there. And if you've done what I would recommend too, and having a bold money goal. So how much money do you want to make this month? And if you have that goal in front of you, and then you daily, and if you've got no income on that day, you write a 0. You don't just go, oh, well, there was nothing. You write a 0, because what's happening in your internal thinking, in your subconscious especially, it's going to go, you better get your act together. You're not traveling so well here, and get you into action, and get you actually thinking about, what do I need to do today to bring in some money? And what I often say to people is, we live in Australia, we live in a wealthy country, but I will walk down the street, and if there's 5 cents on the footpath, I will pick it up and I will go, money falls out of this.
Yeah, it does.
Unbelievable. Because I can remember when I was a little kid, and I remember 5 cents was a bag of lollies, and they lasted all afternoon.
Yeah. It's funny about that. When we grow up, I still recall, Kathleen, finding $2 coins, in the washing machine, in the couch or whatever. And my husband once laughed his head off because we had visitors, and I picked up, I found $2, and it was like, but we just do that, don't we? Because it's been drummed in as a child. But it is. I mean, $2 is $2, or 5 cents is 5 cents.
And people leave money on the table in their business because they're not paying attention to what they want to create, and then looking every day as to how that's coming in, and then do that month in, month out, and you'll find that by that one daily thing, how much that will change your whole belief around what you're able to generate.
Yeah, I think monitoring and tracking in business is just so important anyway, because, once we start to establish those firm goals, it's going to, if that's the outcome in mind, then you need to then look at, well, what is that going to take? If I know that that's going to require 3 high VIP clients, and that means, a longer time frame in the buyer's journey that I have to nurture, do I have to do more speaking? Do I need to, all of these things can then suddenly come into play, rather than, more of an ad hoc. And as we know, if we want to build a sustainable and scalable business, we have to start to be able to put goals down and be able to track and monitor to see what is working. And I love that you've shared around this, the whole aspect of money mindset, because often in business, if we feel that there is just, we're pushing and doing, as you said, working so hard, yet we're not really seeing the returns for that. One thing, the practical steps could still be there. You could be doing all of the things, but maybe it's actually looking at, well, what's going on as far as your beliefs, as far as your mindset. And I think it's been a valuable conversation. What should people do? How could they get in contact with you if they'd like to find out more about how you might support them, about the work that you do, Kathleen?
Well, they could go straight to my website. That would be a good start. And that's www.powerupyourmarketing. See my brand up behind me? Whoop, that's right. .com. And you'll find under my services, there's a couple of, in the pull down, there's a couple of options to have a 30-minute conversation with me. I call them a breakthrough conversation, and it could be around branding, money and marketing, whatever it is that you would like to know more about. I'd love that chance to see whether there's some way I could help steer you. And certainly if there's a way that what I do would be helpful for you, well, we can talk about that as well. But very happy for people to take that opportunity. I usually have a few options each week available for that. And if first in, best dressed, of course. So whatever people would like to have that chat about, that would be the best way to connect with me. Or find me on LinkedIn. You'll find me on LinkedIn. I'd love people to say, I heard you on the broadcast with Anne-Marie, and I'd love to link up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Kathleen has got her name there, Kathleen Ann. Something that I heard today, Kathleen, and it speaks beautifully into what you have been saying all throughout today's interview, is that, often the money and the ahas and the opportunities for learning and growth are in the gaps, are in the mistakes. Because so often we could be saying and saying, and I find myself doing that too. Yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that. But it's often we can't see the gaps. We can't see the things that we're not doing, or maybe we need to tweak them just ever so slightly, which I think is so valuable that you give someone the opportunity to have that initial chat. Because, celebrate. If you come away with a whole list from Kathleen of the key areas you can work on, well, now that's a great way to be able to move forward.
Yeah, so, now's a good time to think about,
and now
is there a better way? And right now, one thing I'd just like to finish with, Anne-Marie, is that most people in a service-based business, and that's the type of businesses I help, they think they need a lot of clients. And so in that mindset, they are thinking all the time of, striving to bring business in. And really, if they take the time to work out, like you said before, how many clients at whatever price point do you need? And then you work out how many conversations do you need to have to get those people. What's your conversion rate, like marketing terms, like out of a conversation? How many people will actually, step up to your program? When you work all that out, then that's basically a marketing plan. So you need to go and get that many people to do that thing. Bing.
Yeah, that in itself is massive, because how often do we look at our day and we spend a lot of time in busyness mode where we may be trying to market our ebook, which we sell for, I don't know, let's say $15. Yeah. And yet the same time and energy could be attracting a high-level client who wants to work with you for 3 months. So $15 versus who knows, you can really see when we shift that, our time, we can see is much better spent then is to really nurture those clients.
So the marketing and the money mindset go hand in hand, and it's very practical. And then it's the way we think and feel about money will make all the difference.
It will. It will. Kathleen, it's always a pleasure to speak with you again. I'm always taking golden nuggets away from our conversation. I think it doesn't matter how long you've been in business, there's always learnings and confirmations that, these are so important, these principles. And how often as businesses, we're always looking for bright, shiny objects. Similarly, we're saying new clients, but what's working now? Double down on that. Do you need to pivot? Double down on that. Stop being, don't dabble in so many things, because that can often, stretch us too thin too and not enable us to build momentum.
And people often think that, if I talk to them about their marketing, they say, oh, yes, I do Facebook. Well, that's a medium. If you're not market ready, if you're not positioned in the marketplace to attract a certain type of client and deliver a certain service, then you're just a me too. And that's not, LinkedIn, Facebook is not marketing. It's part of your, obviously, getting your message out there. But if your message is all over the place, you're all over the place.
Yeah, you were mentioning, and again, go and visit Kathleen at Power Up Your Marketing. That's where you can find all her details. But you said something earlier, Kathleen, about how, we will see things go back to some form of normality and things will be different. I think one of the things many businesses, if they're not already doing this, so solopreneurs or even SMEs, now more than ever is the importance of being so clear on who you are, what you offer, the value you offer, because doing that intentionally with integrity and excellence is what's going to have you stand out from the market. That's going to be the differentiating factor, rather than trying to be all things to all people, isn't it? That's the way, because there's so many more voices and people doing the same old online. You have to know exactly how you're going to stand out. And often it's the clarity and intention that's going to really have you stand out as that authority.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you have to turn up and deliver. So this is the thing a lot of people just forget, that delivering your services, if you have them streamlined, which is the process that I go through clients with, like packaging, like a signature system, create your services around solving that one big problem for a specific group of people, your niche, then you get people engaged in that, and you've got a process you're taking them through for the outcome. And that's what you do. That's how you get known as the expert for that thing. And that's how you keep raising your fees and attracting more of those right ideal clients. And then guess what? You just deliver that. You don't have to keep making up more stuff. It's all easy, and it's just bring it on. And then, your creativity comes into play, but you're not wasting it by, constantly reinventing things for people. Like consultants do that. They try to find a problem, then they try to fix their solution onto it.
Yeah, and that's exhausting, isn't it? No wonder they feel like they're just, at the end of the day, they're just so exhausted because they're having to reinvent things. So, so many golden nuggets. I know people would have, they're taking notes, they'd be on their third or fourth A4 page, I'm sure, Kathleen. Well, look, thanks once again for coming on the show. It's always wonderful to catch up.
And thank you, Anne-Marie, once again. My absolute delight to be here.